Last question. I've interviewed a lot of people over the years who went to prison for various things. And not all of them, but a lot of them, they go into prison upset, angry, feeling like they got set up, feeling, a lot of times that it was, racial profiling, it was a grudge, it was some other reason, and so forth. But a lot of them, once they get to prison, they eventually come to the conclusion that, something, at least partially, I'm to blame for being in this situation. I can't keep blaming other people, and I have to look within myself and look at the mistakes that I made and accept those mistakes and so forth. Now, looking back at what happened to you in the prison time that you did, do you feel in any way that you have responsibility for putting yourself there and there's mistakes that you made that you should have handled differently?
Of course. A lot of mistakes, a lot of misjudgments, misjudged certain people that I thought were different than who they were. Could have been more vigilant in holding certain people accountable when I heard things about them, but I chose not to believe them because they were helpful to me and I didn't want to believe that. There's a guy named Tony Resco who was close to both Obama and me, who was a central figure in some of the difficulties I had. He's the guy that bought a lot for Obama. Obama bought this mansion when he was elected to the United States Senate, and Resco bought the adjoining lot because the Obamas didn't have enough money to buy the mansion and the lot, so he bought it. And this is public knowledge. It was out in the media. And Obama called it bonehead. I'm sure Obama would agree with me that we both made a misjudgment on that guy. That guy had raised money for me, was very helpful to me, and I relied on him a lot. And I heard things about him. I didn't want to believe him. And it turned out he wasn't everything I thought he was. So, of course, I made misjudgments and mistakes. I said stupid things, of course. I prosecute myself on the way I approached the post-arrest and the prosecution against me, how I fought back. I prosecute myself on whether or not that was the smart thing or the right thing to do, right? Because it wasn't just about me. My daughters lost their father for 2,896 days. It would have been a lot less had I not fought back like I did. I asked myself, did I let pride get in the middle of all of that? Too much pride. And I should have been quiet and just taken my medicine, recognized these guys have so much power, so they have unlimited resources, the ability to destroy you financially, to destroy people around you just to get to you, that they can try you as often as they want. You could actually not get convicted at a first trial and they can try you again, which is what happened to me. And then I'm told they can keep doing that. And that it's unlikely that I could ever get complete acquittals because there's always going to be somebody on the jury who doesn't like me because I was a governor and you piss people off. And, Republicans on the jury against me were not good for me, right? Because I was a Democrat governor. So I asked myself, could I have been less prideful and I should have just been more realistic and not fought back and maybe taken a light sentence and just give in? Because they dangled 18 months after they didn't convict me the first time. If I'd have just gone away, they dangled 18 months. They sent my brother to me, my older brother to me, who was an innocent man, an honest man. They brought charges against him after the first trial when they failed to convict either one of us. They recognized, they dropped the charges against him. They tried to get me to plead guilty. And use him. In other words, they dropped the charge against him if I would plead. And ruin my relationship with my brother. So I asked myself, could I have been less prideful? And, look, my daughters, I think, when I think about how unhappy my life has been because of all of this, I mean, the biggest victims are my daughters and my wife because they didn't choose that business. I did. I chose that fucking business, right? It's almost like the scene from Godfather Part 2, right? You remember that scene, Hyman Roth? He's talking to Michael Corleone. They're in Cuba and he wants Michael Corleone to give him the money. And he gives him that speech about how he had this visionary named Mo Green and he took a bullet in the eye. He was a protege of mine. I didn't say anything about it. I understood that's the business we chose. You remember that scene? So I chose
Yep.
the politics, the life of a politician, the political business. My daughters were innocents in this. And my wife, not like my daughters, but certainly far more, she was just supportive. She didn't want that life. And I brought all that on them because of the business I chose. So if you're asking me, am I guilty of all of that? Of course I am. And have I prosecuted myself and convicted me for that? Yes, I have. Did I break a single law? Fuck no. I did not. And did I do the right thing fighting them like I did and then get my ass kicked the way I did? In spite of it all, I still think I had no choice. Because here's the difference between me, Vlad, and probably all those other guys you talk to. You know what that is?
What's that?
I didn't have a business decision alone to make, you see? Because if it was just a business decision, if they were squeezing me and they wanted me to say that something that's a non-existent crime was a crime and I have to cut my losses because I can't fight these people financially and they're eventually going to get me anyway, I'll cut my losses, I'll take a hit, I'll take a conviction, I'll go to prison for a little while, I'll come back and I'll start my business again and my family won't get destroyed financially. If it was a business decision alone, I think maybe you make a tactical retreat, you cut your losses, you make a deal. You see what I'm saying? If I was a career criminal, if my life was a drug dealer, and I was in a criminal enterprise like that, and this is what I do for a living, which is what these guys do. I'm an expert on this. I lived with them for 2,896 days. If I do that and I evaluate their case against me, do I cut my losses and say I did it because I did it anyway? Because most of them do it. I do it. I cut my losses. But see, I didn't do it, and I was what? An elected governor of the people twice. And when you're the governor, you twice swear on the Holy Bible, serve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the rule of law. And they hired me, you see, and they put their trust in me. And I wasn't perfect, and it wasn't like I was a choir boy in that business. I played politics tough, because you can't win if you don't play it tough. But I didn't break laws, and unlike everybody else in this business, I never got rich because I played it honestly. I destroyed family relationships because I wouldn't let them get rich during my time as governor. So if you're asking me, after thinking about it like I have, and I had all that time to think about it and still do, should I have had less pride? Of course. But did I have any choice in fighting back? I don't think so. I think I had to fucking get my ass kicked and suffer like I did. I don't think I had a choice. And I'll say this about where I am now. It's what Winston Churchill said about nations. He said this about nations. When the Nazis were coming and Britain was all alone and France fell and they were facing this unbelievable German army that was winning everything. And Churchill was defying all the odds, encouraging the British people to stand up and fight. Churchill said, nations that go down fighting come back, but nations that shamelessly surrender never do. So had I shamelessly surrendered, there's no comeback. And where I am right now, it's what an old Irish proverb says. Even God can't make two mountains without a valley in between. I'm out of the valley. I'm climbing back up. I'm not saying it's going to be in politics, but I'm making my comeback in life. And I do believe it's going to be a great comeback. And I do believe, Vlad, the reason it's going to be great is because I never gave in to those motherfuckers. That's what I think. How's that answer? It's long, wasn't it?
It's a great answer. It's a great
Okay.
answer. Well, Rod, I appreciate you coming in and sharing your story. A very historical story. You know, after you and I are both gone, you know, students will be studying your career and, you know, there's still a lot left to the story. You know, I don't think we're anywhere near done. I think there's a lot more for you to write and a lot more for you to do. And, you know, you did your time, you know, and ultimately, whether people agree with you or disagree with you, I think they have to respect the fact that even after all that prison time, you still come out and you're still saying, I'm standing upon my principles. I don't think I did anything wrong. I'm not switching up my story and so forth. And I think that does say a lot because a lot of people I think would have ultimately folded or, you know, admitted to lesser charges, pled out, taken the easy route. And you ultimately did not. You stood by whatever you felt was right in your own mind, and you know, had the repercussions of that. And now you're back, and you know, you're back with your family, back with your daughters, and you know, looking forward to what you got going on next.
That's awfully nice of you, Vlad. Thanks for saying that. If I could just say one last thing, You talked about those students who may be reading about this down the road, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to just leave you with my piece of advice to those young students. You know what it is?
What's that?
Stay the fuck out of politics.
There we have it. There we have it. That's how we're going to end it. Rod, thank you so much for your time. Wishing you all the best.
Thanks, Vlad. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Peace.